West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe.
It
The
is
Jeff
8
and
a.m.
Bill
in the
Show.
Mile High City on this Friday, October 17th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, typically along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest takes and hottest news from the right, left, and center. Today, though, sitting live in studio with me is Bree and Paul from CityCast Denver, one of the most popular podcasts out there covering all things Denver. It's like classic Denver. You got food, drink, Denver history, neighborhood guides, the Urban Almanac. You even have a whole podcast about Lauren Boebert. I forgot you did that podcast about Lauren
Yeah, it
Boebert.
was really interesting. It was really interesting journey. I know a lot of people like Lauren Boebert that don't have the same politics as her growing up here, so it was really interesting to, like, my best friend grew up in rural Colorado, has 4 boys, like very similar, and her politics could not be more different than Lauren's, and I just thought a lot about that while we were in that experience, but she was very pleasant to us. She invited us into her home.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So
she did threaten me.
she did threaten Paul. I guess I should be fair.
5 minutes into our interview, she said, "It would be a shame for you to think that I'm unarmed."
Yes.
I was like, "Okay, is this
I was
normally how you talk
mesmerized
to
by her
journalists? This
beef
is
stroking
interesting."
off.
I've interviewed her, and she's got the guns right on her hips. I went when she still owned the restaurant, and we went up there and filmed in her restaurant.
Oh, we
and
tried
all
to
the
do
girls still had the guns on their hips and all that stuff, which was fun. You and I were talking Mayor Mike Johnston, and I thought he had learned his lesson. I saw this, and I was like, oh, he's not spending anything on illegal immigrants? We had to cut Denver City services. 200 employees lost their jobs. A whole bunch of vacancies aren't being filled. And then he tells Channel 7 that they're not spending any money next year on illegal immigrants. I'm like, finally, he's putting the citizens of Denver first. And you tell me no.
Well, what would he be spending on? You know, people came, they were helped.
So we solved the border crisis? We're able to
mean,
shut it down?
I
There's
don't
no bipartisan deal that needed to be struck, Kamala Harris? We were able to shut it down, huh?
I mean, at the time, there were many people coming across the border.
Yeah.
I don't think he planned for that either. That may come again. I mean, who knows what Trump is going to do on the border? He has a lot of
Like
big
Democrats.
talk, and then, you know, who knows what happens. But if the same situation happened, I don't think his values have changed. And I don't think, and more importantly, I don't think his critics hit him on this. The critics that matter in Denver politics don't criticize his response. They might talk about mismanagement of money and like how he has planned for this shortfall, but they don't say, oh boy, Mayor Mike had too empathetic an approach to the immigration crisis a couple of years ago, this influx of migrant. He was too empathetic. That's never going to hurt him in Denver.
So you
never.
You had two, and that's sad to me, because you had 2 cities, and Danielle Jurinsky, great friend of the program, was saying we're not going to cut any services. We're never going to put illegal immigrants ahead of the services we provide to the citizens of Aurora. Now we'll have to see how she fares in this upcoming re-election, but Mayor Mike Kaufman not cutting jobs, Denver cutting jobs.
What jobs is Aurora providing? What services is the city of Aurora providing?
Their
My
own
understanding is it's mostly nonprofits in Aurora that have provided the support for the people that have come there.
Huge amounts, yeah.
Oh, to the illegal immigrants?
Newcomers,
so-called, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like during those debates that were raging, Kaufman, Jurinsky, the whole Aurora City Council saying we're not going to cut, for instance, in Denver, you had to cut the hours for people to go to the gyms, those public gyms, stuff like that. So there were actual
they didn't plant flowers
services.
in the flower beds.
Yeah. So there were actual services to the people of Denver that were cut, and then you had nearly 200 people lose their jobs as a result of some of the budget crisis in Denver. Aurora not having to go through that. Now, they have had to make some cuts, but not nearly at the level of Denver. You don't think that the people of our community saw the difference in that approach?
Well, I don't think Aurora ever did anything in the first place. I mean, Denver provided a lot of help and spent
to
a lot of
illegal
money.
immigrants, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To people in need of support, people who
Right.
are showing up desperate for help, people on the street corner who are hungry, families, single mothers with children who had just struggled, struggled through deserts, through rainforests.
Right. Paul,
through,
they chose to come here.
Why do you
exactly,
think they
because this is
did?
a great opportunity, and
Also,
we should
they
embrace
were fleeing.
them.
Yeah,
We should embrace them?
Yeah,
Their
why not?
first act into our country was to break our immigration laws. Welcome to America. We don't take your laws seriously.
Is a law the best way to relate to another human being?
Yeah.
Do when you relate to someone, when you say, "Oh, my friend, let's enjoy some time together." Oh, but is there a law that we should be considering before we relate to each other as humans? No. Regular people don't do that. Regular people talk to each other across the fence and say, "Hey, neighbor, how's your day? How you watch the Broncos? You know, how Jokic do the other night?"
You're not a full open border guy, are you?
I don't know what I think the solution is. I try not to have an opinion about those kinds of things, but I do think that it is very arbitrary how there is a lot of debate about these processes and systems around immigration, and we have lost focus on the humanity of people.
Yeah,
Interesting. I mean, do you
Well,
think
just like why they're
are you
fleeing.
are you an open border person?
I'm with Paul. This is not something that I am an expert in, so I don't
Yeah,
want to speak
but, I
to
mean,
it. But I live in a community that's predominantly Spanish speaking in Denver. I don't know how my neighbors got here. I have no questions. It doesn't impact my life whether they came here legally or not.
But I guess is there a number that becomes too much?
I mean,
when I see Americans doing the jobs that some of my neighbors do, maybe, but the folks that I live around do backbreaking labor work that I'm just blown away by the work that they do every single day, and I just don't know that I can judge somebody else for the experience that they have. I was just born here arbitrarily. I wasn't like, ooh, thank God I got born in Denver, Colorado. People don't choose where they're born. And if they're fleeing something, I mean, I can't imagine I'm a mother. I can't imagine carrying my son on my back through a ravine to break a law, other than the fact that I was trying to get away from something that was so dangerous I couldn't raise my kid there.
So, go ahead.
I don't know about you, Jeff, but I think America's a great country.
100%.
I think this country
and it is a
great,
country. It has borders,
and that is why it attracts people. People see this as an opportunity. They want to be a part of this.
But
growing
why
this
is
together.
America great?
Why is America great? For a million reasons.
Yeah, name a few.
Name a few.
Yeah, why are we better than like France or England?
I don't know if we
places
are.
are also
China?
I'm like, I just went to
Seem
Paris.
cool.
It was great. I kind of didn't want to leave there. I loved it. Their transit system was amazing. They're so much nicer to families. Like, it was so much more family friendly than I've ever experienced in Colorado. I was like, wow. And of course,
So, do you think you should just be able to move to France?
yeah.
And just take up residence and use their resources and stuff like that. You
Well,
don't
I
think the French people should have any oversight as to the types of people that are coming?
I don't. That would be different, I think, because if I was fleeing political violence, that's a little bit different. If I'm making this decision right now, there might be a process. I don't know. I've never really thought about it, to be honest with you. I'm with you guys. I love America. I just say that I'm fortunate to live here.
Yeah.
I did not choose this place. It's where I came into the universe. I just don't think it's fair to say to folks who are fleeing things that are so scary that you can't be here because you didn't do it the quote right way. Again, I'm with Paul. I don't know if laws are the solution here. And like I said, my neighbors, I don't know how they got here. It doesn't matter to me. They're my neighbors. They're wonderful. They participate in our community the same way that I do. None of that shit. None of that stuff. Pardon me. Sorry. None of that stuff. Sorry.
I hit it.
None of that stuff matters to me. So I've never had to make that choice. I guess I should say is if I had to flee to France, I would hope that I can do it in some way. But I've never had to think about it.
Yeah. But what makes America? One of the aspects that makes America great is our adherence to the rule of law. Like, you go to some of these other countries, like I've done mission work in Mexico. It's chaos down there.
Really?
Right? You have cartel work that are operating down there.
I had a great time every time I've been in Mexico.
Have you been to like Juarez and some of the poorer parts of Mexico?
Yeah, it's
not the rule of law is not strong in those places, and so
well, the rule of law here applies to certain people.
is really important to the health of a nation. And when your first act to come to this nation is to break those laws, you don't tell me that you take America that seriously.
How many felonies does the president have? I don't want to get into this, but I just think there's laws that can be broken by certain people that look certain ways, and there's other laws that can't be broken by people who exist in certain ways.
Part of the heartbreaking thing for me, we went down to these Tren de Aragua apartment complexes that were just property issues, according to some news agencies here. But no. We went and talked to the people, and there is a tremendous amount of human suffering that took place, particularly if you're a woman and traveled across 5 or 6 countries in order to get here, right? Like they were assaulted. And we talked to women that had been assaulted along the way. They were lied to. They believed that this country was open. And so they got up here and were heartbroken. I mean, tears coming down. There's a clarity, and I think there's a kindness to clarity when you're like, this is how you become an American citizen. You follow these rules. Because we saw a tremendous amount of human suffering as people came up here, then got here. The country wasn't open to them. They didn't have opportunities. Now they're thinking of going back. I think Joe Biden's open border was wildly inhumane to people.
Well, then we do have to talk a little bit about the politics and this bill, this bipartisan bill that failed because of Trump's intervention. He wanted to make this a political issue, but there was a bill that would have made this process easier for people to follow the rules.
Why does the process need to be easier?
Well, because there's a humongous backlog of cases that were waiting to go before judges.
Right. There's a lot of people that want to get into this country. We can't take everybody. We want the good ones. What's wrong with that?
What are the good ones? This is such an interesting...
People that contribute, people that are going to work hard. I don't want criminals, and I definitely don't want Tren de Aragua gang members in here.
I've never met a Tren de Aragua gang member of all the Venezuelan folks that have been in my neighborhood. I've never met a single one.
Can't you agree that we don't want gang members coming up to this country?
But look at the majority of folk. I think I don't have these statistics in front of me. I guess I should dig them up. But like, folks that do immigrate here tend to commit even less crimes than folks that are from here. I mean, it's a narrative to me about people that we put on a huge group of people that we want to say are not allowed here. And I'm sorry, this rule of law thing, what are ICE agents doing right now? They've taken people in, not reading them their rights, not allowing them phone calls, not even telling them why they're picking them up. Some of those folks are American citizens. There's no rule of law. It applies to whoever wants to put it on, whoever has the power to do it. So it's baloney to me, personally. Paul?
I thought she put it nicely. I thought that was good. I like that.
Welcome to the conversation. Oh my goodness. We don't have any accessible lines right now. So once we're done talking to people, you need to call in if you want to join. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Give us a call at 303-696-1971. If you can't get through, the text message line is 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115, and they are super hot on the text message line. All right, let's get to news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It is Friday. Here come the phone calls. 43 and sunny, beautiful outside, expecting a high of 66 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, Wall Street opening mixed to start the final trading session of the week. The Dow was slightly higher at the opening bell, and the S&P and NASDAQ both in the red in early trading, as plenty of things are going on, not only in New York City, but in D.C., here in Denver, and across the country. Should be an interesting weekend. Today is day 17 of the federal government shutdown. The Senate once again failed to pass a spending measure that would have funded the government, i.e. the Democrats, want to continue the shutdown, because tomorrow is their No King's Day, funded by the globalists who wish to destroy the greatest country in the world. Former Trump advisor John Bolton has surrendered to federal authorities After being taken into custody, Bolton will make his first court appearance. The former NSA advisor was indicted Thursday on federal charges related to alleged mishandling of classified documents.
He's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
The case against him?
That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what?
Have you reviewed the case against him?
No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person. Okay, anybody else?
He's a bad guy, and it's too bad. And that's the way it goes, and that's what we need to see. Steve Bannon with Tucker.
And I appreciate that. But we have to focus on the deep state. We have to focus on taking this apparatus. We only have a short window of time, I think, to be able to do this, and we're not prioritizing it, and we're not hiring enough U.S. attorneys to focus on it, and we're not getting that. If we don't get that done, these statistics we're putting out and the great job at Cash and people and Dan Bond Jr. are doing about arresting bad guys is not going to matter, because you're going to have more bad guys later invited back in by these people. So now it's time to, I think, maximize our own strategy, seize the institutions, and move with a sense of urgency.
Get the deep state. Let's go. Ukrainian President Zelensky is expected to ask for American missiles when he meets with DJT at the White House today. They'll also discuss 47's recent call with Putin on Thursday. Trump said he had a very productive phone call with Putin. About an hour ago, DJT discussed the mayor's race in New York City. Kami Mamdani is in the lead.
Are you urging or encouraging any candidates in the New York City mayor's race to drop out to clear the field?
No, I don't like to see a communist become mayor, I will tell you that. And I don't think you can win unless you have one-on-one, because somehow he's gotten a little bit of a lead. I have no idea how that happened, but I'd prefer not to have a communist mayor of New York City. And you know, that's what he is based on his policy, if you look at his statements in the past. So I would like to see two people drop out and have it be one-on-one. And I think that's a race that could be won. Yeah.
And then there's Joy, whatever her name is, Joy Behar from The View, spins anything and everything. This is incredible. Alyssa Farrah-Griffin kicks it off.
Because what's come up in this conversation is this individual, Jay Jones, who's running for Attorney General in Virginia. He's about a 36-year-old man running for Attorney General who had some leaked text messages come out where he aspired to violence against Republicans. I don't know why it's hard for people, and I'm not this table.
I saw that.
Let me just say this.
But only Democrats denounced him, no Republicans.
He's a Democrat.
Yeah,
No Republicans did not. No, they exposed it. That's the point. No, he is a Democrat. And, oh, my God. No Republican. She twisted it. The Democrat did this, doubled down, said that he was going to kill the Republican and the kids. And he said it twice, and his small kids. And they still didn't condemn it. Unbelievable. NLCS Dodgers over the Brewers again. One more win, and they're headed to the World Series. UNC Bears go for 2 straight tomorrow night at Sacramento State. CU is off tomorrow. Wyoming at Air Force. A tradition-rich annual rivalry game up and down the Front Range. And then Hawaii at CSU as they try to win their second straight game. Last night, veteran quarterbacks Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers. Here's Rodgers.
Rodgers avoids the sack. Deep downfield, caught at the 35-yard line, and going all the way to the end zone is Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth, 68 yards.
And the touchdown. So Rodgers had a big game, and so did Flacco. But the Bengals beat the Steelers in the end, 33-31. And Flacco, the old guy, beats the other old guy in that one. 40 in Littleton, 40 in Westminster, 43 in Denver. Jeff and special guests, Paul and Bree. And here come the phone calls. They continue in the studio. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're playing a little Coldplay.
The greatest band in the world.
Yeah, is that you guys?
Never gotten more controversy than this one concert.
Yeah,
they've
been very innocuous until that moment.
Very funny, very, very funny.
But it's a classic. It was like perfect for Americana culture, right? The little couple that shouldn't have been
good.
Hold each other, and then they duck out of the way. All that stuff. If they had just waved, nobody would have said anything about it.
Would have been nothing. What more could be said? I mean, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. It was a gift for all of us.
I was just jealous of those box seats. I go to a lot of concerts. I don't get to sit up there.
Yeah, those are nice.
Please, you don't. You know
I know
all the people at all the
concerts.
concerts.
Doesn't have their own box.
No,
Bree gets into every concert. Could go to any show at any moment.
True.
Tonight she could go see some who knows who.
It's true. That's the one benefit to being married to a musician. That's it. Number one. Only thing.
Wow.
Bree and Paul with CityCast Denver are live in studio. They're doing a great job. They walked right into conservative talk radio and are taking all the calls and the text messages. Speaking of calls, let's go to Mike in Littleton. Mike, you are on with Bree, Paul, and Jeff. Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
Morning, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
My question, just listening to you guys, I have to ask, how often do you guys tap into like a Vivek Ramaswamy on these thoughts of immigration? Like, how often do you take in input from his point of view?
I think I listened to a few interviews with him actually in the lead up to the election. I find him pretty interesting. And I think I know what you're getting at, because he represents this divide on the conservative side of things on immigration, where the question is less about like people breaking the law and more about like, which people do we want in? Do we want more of these super high skilled people? Because I think he's more with Elon on immigration, that he sees like there are people who want to come to this country who are very well educated and very highly trained, and we should be welcoming them. But there's other conservatives who are like, but those people have brown skin.
Yeah.
Can I tweak? I guess my interpretation.
Sure. Yeah. What do you think?
My interpretation from him is, he talks in his books. If you give him like a deeper dive than just a couple of the reads, he'll go in and he'll talk about the fact that his parents are immigrants, right? He's a second generation immigrant. I do think that you're right and spot on around like, hey, selection of immigration. But I think one of the things he talks about is the dishonesty of allowing the people who broke the rules the first pass to come into the country and just say, hey, let's blanket swath the acceptance. That's not really the best first step to say, hey, how did you get in the country? Well, it was the willingness to lie on an application to get in the door. That to me resonates, because if you take analogies of politics back to like children, look at a kid in the classroom. Even if a kid is born, because I heard you say earlier, you don't choose where you're born. I agree with that. That's a very empathetic and fair stance. If you're born with severe autism and you start throwing chairs in a classroom at a teacher, you can't let the kid throw chairs at teachers or break everything. You have to remove them. You have to create a system and a set of policies that apply to everybody, right? So it's like, it's not fair to say that conservatives are empathetic, because there should be a process and a rule of law which you follow. Because unfortunately, the things you talk about, like ICE going and doing specific things like capturing people who are U.S. citizens, those are edge cases, just like on the other side of the fence.
That's fair. And I do just want to say, I never said conservatives weren't empathetic. I just want to make that clear. I just say that's the perspective I come from, is when I'm talking about these things, this is how I'm thinking about it. And I will, again, I'll just lean on this thought that like a lot of these folks that are coming here, quote, illegally, are fleeing terrifying situations. They're already in extreme poverty, and they don't have any, it feels like they don't have any other option. And that's why I don't quite understand demonizing them for trying to get out of something. Can I disagree with that? Sure.
Can I disagree with that? Because, I mean, you say that they're fleeing all of these crazy situations, which I think, again, you are right on education some. What is it? I don't know the number, but I have seen it a couple times. Self-deportations are massive right now. So if they really were fleeing something so life-harming, something that was going to kill your family tomorrow, you wouldn't self-deport back. I would hide in a bunker until they found me. For my kids.
the ICE is going into bunkers right now, right? Like they're self-deporting because they don't want to get caught up in the system. They don't want to get permanently
disappeared
banned.
to
They don't want to get
some crazy prison.
Yeah, but I think that the question of like where they're fleeing to and where the rules fit in versus opportunity is really interesting when you look at the case of Republican Congressman Gabe Evans, who for years talked about how important the rule of law is and then cited his own family history, his own family background, and said, my grandparents did it the right way. We followed the rules, and that's why I am the person I am today. That's how I made it to Congress, and that's why I'm a Republican. And now, thanks to Chase Woodruff at Colorado Newsline, we know that was a whole bunch of baloney. Mm-hmm. He didn't know his own family history. The truth is, his grandfather came across and, quote-unquote, didn't follow the rules, did do crimes, and somehow made it work anyway. He found his opportunity, and 2 generations later, we have this massive success story. And it's not because of what the policies that Gabe Evans is pushing now.
They wouldn't let his own
you know what?
family in.
I bet you his ancestors had nationalistic pride, and that's the thing. Like we talk about anecdotes, right? I talked to a guy who was from Africa in downtown Denver. Great dude. He's here, has 2 kids, working 2 jobs, works at Walmart, drives Uber. You get in the whole car ride and you have this conversation with him about America, and I just point blank asked him, I was like, what do you prefer, socialism or capitalism? Through the conversation, he didn't know the definitions between the two, right? He's on visa. He's doing it appropriately. I would love for him to live here. But when somebody doesn't understand the difference between socialism and capitalism, the definition of that, and they don't have a pride, like a great book for anyone listening, if you can keep it, I would highly recommend your kids read that book. If you can't define the definition between the two of those things, we're missing the mark when you say that people who just came here illegally should just get a giant swath of acceptance, because you're going to have internal revolt against the thing that they think they're here and they love. Because without the system it is today, they wouldn't have come here in the first place.
Mike, appreciate the call. Mike's from Littleton. His line will be open, 303-696-1971. How well do you think assimilation was taking place among the illegal immigrants that were coming here? I mean, I think that's one of the concerns.
How well is it taking place?
I don't know what assimilation means.
Yeah,
like, I mean, in terms of what that actually looks like in Denver.
Embracing American values, embracing American cultures, or were they living in separate neighborhoods? So part of the concern, for instance, about the immigration that's happening in Europe is that you have Muslim neighborhoods being established with different cultures, different laws, different values than a traditional French or traditional English culture.
Well, tradition is subjective, and also, like, how old is this city? 150 years
honestly,
old? Not that old.
You asked earlier what's something that's great about America. It's this. It's that it changes constantly based on the people that come here. The things that we have in common are that we seek opportunity. We want the best for ourselves, and this is a great place to do it. The point is that America can change. We have a system that accommodates this.
And we've seen that even in our own neighborhoods.
It is a beautiful thing.
It changes.
We were talking about Mexican food earlier. Colorado's unique Mexican food. This is a perfect case study. Colorado's unique Mexican food is an example of how cultures have combined to create something unique and beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's like that's a small example, but you don't want major things to change.
But that is America to me. I'm with Paul on this. Like, to me, when people come to Colorado and they don't even know we have Mexican food, I'm always blown away, because Mexican culture, and by proxy or sort of through evolution, Chicano culture here is so much of what I identify as Denver. And that's actually what makes me feel at home, is that culture. That's not necessarily mine in the culture that I was physically born into, but that's the culture that I was raised in. And that's the Denver that I know. And like, my husband grew up in a predominantly Chicano neighborhood in Baker in the 90s. And that neighborhood has changed quite a bit. Part of the reason he wanted to live where we live is because it felt like home to him. And we're the minority on our block, but that's just the culture that we know and understand and feel welcomed into. And it's not necessarily my white Irish German ancestry,
but it is that too. It is that too. I mean, the Mexican food thing is the combination of Italian and Mexican. You know, the Pueblo chili is the Italian and Mexican
Pueblo's
food coming together.
Pueblo's a great example too of those cultures coming together because of the work that was happening there.
They're leaving a broken culture.
But that's
so you
not.
don't,
they're,
you don't,
no, they're
you don't
leaving,
want
culture
that.
is broken.
And also, they're leaving a huge.
You don't want
they're not,
Venezuelan culture right now up here. You got Maduro. You got a socialist.
But you know,
type
but
of
if
thing.
someone said to me, "American culture is Trump," I'd be like, "That's not me." So maybe everybody isn't aligning with Maduro. Like, they're maybe trying to escape that because it's unsafe for them, or they don't feel welcome in their own
Right, but you guys made the
country.
argument that culture is already changing, is always changing.
It's always
but we
changing.
want America to remain what it is, don't we? I mean, you
Which
don't
is
want it
Paul
to
made the
become
point that it's
Venezuela.
always evolving.
You don't want it to become Afghanistan. You want
I know.
America.
I've never been to either of those places, so I couldn't tell you what I want or don't want.
But they don't
what I know
educate
that the
girls in Afghanistan. You wouldn't want to live
But I'm
in
talking about the
Afghanistan.
people. I'm not talking about their political. I think about this with like I did a talk with Pussy Riot, and some of those women spent 2 years in a work prison camp in Siberia for playing a punk song in an Orthodox church for 30 seconds or something. And if you identified them with Putin, they'd be like, no, I actually am trying to fight directly against that through my art. And they're still proud to be Russian, but they don't align. The government is not welcoming to them. So I don't know.
But you don't want America to become Russia. You don't want America
but
to
America
become...
isn't going to become any. It's always evolving. We weren't America several hundred years ago as we know it today.
But
it wasn't ours.
What are we evolving towards? I guess
more. I don't know. Something more beautiful. I don't know. I've enjoyed my time on Earth, and things have changed since 1980 when I was born. And the more that I learn about the more types of people in the world, the more that I feel like I understand other people's. It's all to me about other people's experiences. That's how I inform the work I do, is by talking to other people and learning about what they go through.
Paul, you don't want America to be Afghanistan, do you?
Paul's Canadian. What can he say?
I know. I
don't want to become Canadian
Let's talk about
either.
your citizenship, Paul.
I mean, this thing that we're just going to kind of evolve, and people can come, and things will change. I want some boundaries on it. I don't think
Draw your lines, Jeff. What are your lines?
I know where does
I love
culture stop?
I love the founding principles that make America. That it is Judeo-Christian in nature. That is Western civilization, right? I don't want to live in China. I don't want to live in Afghanistan. What Western culture, what Western civilization produced is the freest, most prosperous nation in world history.
How is it freest if it's only one religion?
No, it's Judeo-Christian. But
Yeah,
I also,
that's a good
But
question.
that's
also
only like
pointed this
1/3
out.
of the world's.
You have no gay pride parades anywhere else except for in traditionally Judeo-Christian countries. There's no gay pride
never
parades
thought about that
in
before.
China. There's no gay pride parades in Russia.
But they welcome folks from those other religions. Being queer has nothing to do with your religion. I mean,
you have
can't
more
help it.
freedom in Western civilization than you do anywhere else, and that is that is a combination of Judeo-Christian religion with Greek Roman thought. It is that combination that has brought about the freest nations. Those are the guidelines that I want.
Interesting.
Yeah, free. What a weird word.
All right. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Jam-packed phone lines. I don't think we've had a show like this all week. Well done. This is really, really fun. Bree, Paul, CityCast Denver, live in studio with us. We'll continue. You're listening to Jeff and Bill, News Talk 710, KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill's out this week. Sitting live in studio with me is Bree and Paul from CityCast Denver. Paul, Canadian, eh?
You got it.
I heard
Sorry, Paul, I
Alberta's
outed
about
you.
to become the 51st state.
Alberta. Yeah, some people would like that. Would like that. There's this Maple MAGA thing. You know about this?
I've heard about it.
Maple MAGA.
I
yeah.
love it.
Southern
Come on
Alberta.
down. Join. We'd like all your oil, too.
Yeah, there's some of my family's from Alberta, and there is definitely a conservative element up there for sure.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen. It's like when Wyoming wanted to secede or whatever. It's like
Northern Colorado.
Yeah,
too,
Northern
did a little bit of
Colorado,
that.
yeah.
Free Colorado, as my in-laws call it.
Yes.
Were you into that at that time when they were talking about that?
I remember that. Yep.
Okay.
I actually have a flag that says Free Colorado.
Oh, that's fun. I
But
love that
where
kind
are
of
you
stuff.
from in Canada?
Well, my family's from out west, like I said. My mom grew up in Calgary, in the oil country. My grandfather was an engineer, worked for an oil company, and my dad's from Vancouver. His parents were both Hungarian, came over around the Hungarian Revolution.
Oh, very cool. Let's go to the phone lines. John, Denver. Good morning, John. You're on with Jeff, Bree, and Paul.
Miles of smiles on your radio dial. Thanks so much for having me on.
Good morning.
Love CityCast as well. Good morning, Paul.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning,
yeah.
Bree. Good morning, Jeff.
Hi.
Ladies, I just got to say, I was listening to what you were saying, and I think that we're missing a facet to this, which is we need more immigration. The United States needs 1 billion Americans in order to compete against Bharat, the nationalist name for India, and China into the future. We can't grow to that through just breeding. It's just not going to happen. We need to increase the
John,
population.
where do we get those people from?
Well, number one, I'd probably say anyone who's going to school for a master's, a doctorate, instant citizenship. But there'd have to be a large number of access points to citizenship for future Americans. And then we have to show them the right image, the right role models that we want. And one of those things is how we treat our homeless. And what we don't do, what we shouldn't do, is what Aurora has done. Spend $25,000 on signs to say, don't give money to panhandlers, which resulted in what? More homeless people at the end of the day. There's still an increased number. The only thing they did was show that they're not generous. So
John, do you think though that handing somebody on the street asking for money cash is a good thing to do?
What I would say is it's a lot better than spending $25,000 on signs, which don't help the problem.
Really? I mean, so Douglas County, for instance, put up those same signs, and they have a 0% homeless rate right now.
It reflects poorly upon the community, and it doesn't tell those new Americans, hey, have generosity of spirit. Hey, have a welcoming attitude to the new arrivals.
But John, if you talk to people, like if you go to Step Denver, Bob Cote, you talk to all those folks that actually serve and work to reduce homelessness, will tell you the worst thing you can do is hand somebody on the side of the street cash because they're likely using it to feed their addiction.
And I still say that spending $25,000 on signs, which don't help anyone, is not the solution. What I'm saying is we need to show a generosity of spirit, which I would have said, send that $25,000 to the homeless. Spend even more money on the homeless. House them, clean them,
and John, what are they going to do with that money? Are we just giving them cash?
Yeah. Actually, that would be another facet to how we can grow America is offering
Hold on. John, somebody that's addicted to drugs, you just want to hand them cash, and that cash, by the way, comes from other people's taxes. So you're going to take it from somebody who's working hard, who's trying to provide for their family. You want to use the power of the government to take their money and hand it to somebody who has an addiction issue so they have more cash? And you think that's compassionate?
Not just people who are addicted to drugs, people who are addicted to outrage like yourselves, people who also have issues across the facet of humanity because they're also humans. They're also our neighbors. And telling people, yeah, take that money, invest it, spend that money, put it into our community, spend more money, and help grow America.
All right, John, I appreciate the call. I'll let Bree and Paul respond. You know how I feel about this.
I know, it's like you're going to be very disappointed, Jeff. I take cash out every time I cash my paycheck to have cash on hand to give folks. I mean, obviously, this caller is aligned with my values for sure. I think about this, just made me think about the Denver Basic Income Project, right? Where that gave direct cash assistance to folks. And I think the data would be debatable. Do you think, Paul, on the outcomes?
Yeah, their first year, their pilot did not have promising results. It didn't have it didn't have a discernible impact on outcomes.
I was going to say, I don't think it was good or bad, but I thought it was an interesting start. And I don't know. There's a couple things you wanted. I'm trying to think.
Some people in city council wanted to bring it back. It came up in the budget hearings again this year. I saw that, and then it was voted down, not included. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting that they're still working on that, I guess. I wanted to talk about, I'm sorry, was this John?
Yes.
John, you said earlier about pathways to citizenship, immigration stuff, and, how people, qualified people can come. I have been noticing, just because some of my family members work in higher education, Trump's aggressive posture towards universities over their DEI programs, that has led to a discernible drop in international student enrollment. Apparently, Trump is trying to impose quotas on these universities for how many international students. So these are people that are highly educated, coming for even more education,
tons of money,
and want to be a part of what America is all about. And it's causing a huge decline in these people coming.
America first.
America first?
America first. Yeah, now those seats go to Americans.
Yeah, I mean, well, the other question is how many seats there are, So the one thing I think Trump is right to be doing is scrutinizing these universities that have these giant enrollments and aren't providing as many opportunities as they could. They're so selective, and they're really just reinforcing the socioeconomic classes we have. They're not, the opportunities aren't open to that many people. And maybe I think if there's part of it that he does sometimes touch on that, I think that he's not wrong about.
That's Paul and Bree with CityCast joining us live in studio. Phone lines are hot. This is like one of the hottest days we've ever had on phone lines. Well done, guys.
And we're the final boss of Progressive Week. That was how I was thinking about it. You had Patty, a deep, love them. Here you are, Friday. It's the big show.
We got this. Oh, let's see. What are we doing on time? We'll take a break, and then we'll get to Marie next. Stick around, Marie. You've been great. People waiting 25, 30 minutes to get in. They want to talk to Bree and Paul. You're listening to Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Yeah, that was interesting. I want to talk about high skill, low skill, the concept of the type of.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I don't think I've ever seen our phones and texts this hot. You all are awesome. I love the conversation. We have live in studio with us Bree and Paul from CityCast Denver.
So happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Glad to have you guys. I mean, this is, Bree and I were just talking about, this just doesn't happen all that much. If you go to C-SPAN, it's very boring. Like policy wonk nerds talking. You're like, I don't even understand half of what the guy on my own side is saying. And other sides, if you could go on to X or Facebook, it's just, you're racist, you're a communist. And they just go back and forth, and that's not interesting. Here we're actually poking and prodding around what we really believe, and I'm having a great time. So thank you all. Our callers and listeners love it. Let's go to Marie. Denver. Good morning, Marie. You're on with Jeff and Bree and Paul.
Well, I want to tell you, I love this show. I agree with practically nothing that's ever said, but I loved it this week, and I love it every week. Now, the reason we are a great country, Jeff, is we are a country of immigrants. All of us, period. That's the first thing. Unless you have an ancestor who's black, an ancestor who's an American Indian, or you were part of, when we got part of New Mexico, Arizona, and California from Mexico. All those people who were Mexican citizens became American citizens. Everybody else is an immigrant. Now,
what do you think being an immigrant makes you so good in your mind, Marie?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now, let me tell you, my dad is the son of resident aliens. My grandparents never learned English. They lived in a Slovak community. But my father was a graduate of a Ivy League college. He put on the uniform, and he defended this country.
That's great.
So did his four brothers.
I guess I'm just intrigued as to why just being an immigrant and putting a bunch of people together all of a sudden makes that country good.
Well, that's made our country good.
Yeah, but what about them? Okay. I guess I'm just asking, like, if you just put a whole bunch of immigrants together, it's not necessarily a good country. So what?
Well, you don't put all, that isn't the way it works. But let me tell you what, the one value I think we have as Americans.
Yeah.
Everybody, whether they've been here 5 days or 5 generations. And that is, if you listen to kids play, 10 minutes in, somebody will yell, hey, that's not fair. And we believe in fairness. We don't agree on what is fair, but we believe it has to be fair. That's why we have laws. That's why we have elections. Somebody wins, somebody loses. And it's also why we have talk shows. That's it. There's no big secret. It just happens that we're really lucky because we move better all the time. And we're we are all immigrants, and we have to accept that first.
Yeah, Marie, I guess luck in the sense that we're all born, or some of us are born here, absolutely. But I don't think America was formed just because it was lucky. I think it had specific values and principles that it put together, expectations, rule of law. As John Adams said, our Constitution's only for moral and religious people and is wholly inadequate to any other. I don't think you get America without a very specific recipe.
Except for slavery, of course. And then
correct, but that was everywhere at that point.
That doesn't make it not like in this country. In our country, we had free labor, slaves. We had free land from the Indians. And my grandparents homesteaded land that once belonged to Indians. So, but you can't get away from the fact that we are all immigrants. That's where it begins.
All right, Marie. Appreciate the call. Marie from Denver. Paul,
thanks for calling.
Response?
Yeah, thank
Bree?
you so much.
Any responses to Paul?
I don't know. I just, appreciate the perspective.
All right. Let's see if we can fit in another one here. Let's go to Sarah in Denver. Good morning, Sarah. You're on with Jeff and Bree and Paul.
Oh, good morning. I want to talk about immigration, too. I became a citizen when I was 18. Our whole family and came over through Ellis Island after World War II, came in legally, and I was born in Germany because at that time you weren't allowed to be pregnant and come to the United States. these were all wonderful rules, and we followed them. What continued when we came here was the idea that, and English was my second language, and what was apparent is that we had to learn also about America. And I, as a child, and my cousins and such, we learned what the foundation was of America. Not even though we were Eastern European. Regardless, you had to learn where you are now living. And when I was 18, and my cousins and so on and so forth, we became citizens. We went through the ceremony and so on and so forth. So I worked in a place for 27 or 30 years where there were many different languages, and you would think, oh, well, what a delight. No, everybody was angry with everyone else because we wanted a common language.
It was a challenge, Bree, or Sarah. Great call. Appreciate it. You're listening to Jeff and Bill, News Talk 710 KNUS.